My name is Jay Thompson. I'm the pastor at Pathway Church here in Conway, and we believe that story is important. Your story, my story, everybody's story. But most importantly, we believe that God wants to shape your story, your life, for a greater purpose. And one of the ways that we do that is through this podcast, where you're going to get the opportunity to hear from your neighbors, your leaders, difference makers and dreamers in our community of what makes Conway so amazing. So sit back, maybe grab you a cup of coffee, and hear someone's story about their path to Conway. My name is Jay Thompson, and you are listening to the Pathway to Conway podcast. And today we got an incredible guest, Dr. Jeff Gaskins. I'm going to give him a chance in just a minute to talk a little bit about who he is and what he does. But one thing about the podcast here, I'm the pastor at Pathway Church, and one of the things that we believe is this, is that God has given everybody a story. And one of the ways we give people an opportunity to share their story is through this podcast. And so if you're interested in finding out how to get connected, just shoot me an email. It's my name, jay@pathwaychurch146.com. And if you're interested in being able to share your story on the Pathway to Conway podcast, I would love to have a sit down and a conversation with you and hear your story. So, one of the things, Jeff, we talk about is everybody has a story. Yep. And not everybody's story, I don't think anybody's story is the same. But we all can learn from each other's stories. So take a moment and share a little bit about who you are. You and I met a little over a year ago, and through a process of us starting Pathway Church and everything. But talk about who you are, your family, what you do, and that kind of stuff.
Well, currently I'm what's called the Association Missionary Director for the Waccamaw Baptist Association. It used to be called Director of Mission, Association Mission Strategist. I have the responsibility for 80 churches in the Horry and Georgetown counties. And what I basically do is be able to help them to be on mission together. Our goal is about partnership and missions locally and globally. So we are here at the association to give resources, to be able to give help, give guidance and direction wherever we can to all of our member churches. So that's what I've been doing that for now 4 years. Prior to that, I was a pastor for about 30 years. Retired actually from that, total of 2 months.
That's the way a lot of former pastors always hear that story.
Yeah, I had some things I wanted to do next after pastoring full time, and this was not necessarily on one of them. But as I began to look at what the responsibilities here are and what I wanted to do, they lined up, and the Lord worked that out. So I retired for 2 months, went back to work here 4 years ago, and have been enjoying that.
Awesome. I want to add one thing about with Jeff is that this position of leading the association, a lot of people who never been in church don't have a clue what that is. And even people who are in church don't know everything that an association does. I want to say this. I feel like we are blessed to have somebody that's leading us in our association that has been in the pastorate, been in the local church for 3 decades, and understands the ins and outs, the ups and downs, the good, the bad, the ugly of what local church is, and then to be able to speak into that. So you talked about partnering with churches. So one of the questions people ask about association stuff is this a church? Is that what an association is? What does that mean? Partner with church? Can you go a little deeper into that a little bit?
Sure. And we say that all the time. We're not a church. We're not here to do the mission of the church. The mission of the church is the Great Commission. What we do as an association is that we believe that we can do more when we do it together. And so that's what the partnership of missions is about, is that we're able to, at the associational level with our partner at the South Carolina Baptist Convention and Southern Baptist Convention, to be able to help pastors and churches get resources, connections with wherever God is leading their heart to be able to serve here locally and in the state and internationally. We've got partners that we can connect all of our members' churches to, that you don't have to start from zero. We've got resources and connections and things that we can bring to bear to be able to help you to fulfill your vision that you have and your calling as a church. So that's how we keep that straight. You know, we're not a church. We don't not
Right.
taking the place of the church. We're here the resource and the help and the guide. And one of the passions that I have is with the pastors. I was a pastor, and it's a tough job. It's a lonely job, and you need to be able to have resources and to be able to have guys that you can sit down with and partner with, be able to share your burdens, pray with, who knows where you've been and what you're going through. And so we want to help because we believe that strong churches are led by strong pastors, and strong pastors are pastors who don't do it alone.
Yeah.
Who have other guys to come alongside.
Absolutely.
So that's what.
Yeah. I don't think in life God ever designed us to do
No.
life alone. That's for sure. And speaking of life, now I know that you love what God's called you to and all that, but you just got back from a trip. Talk a little bit about your family. I think you were over in Washington State a little bit. So let's talk a little bit about your family, what that looks like, and you got something on the horizon when it comes to that.
Well, I go back just a bit. Met my wife. She's from Georgetown, so she has a local connection here. And so we've been coming to this area for maybe 44, so 46 years. I grew up in Eastern North Carolina. I met Gwen in college, and from there I went and served in churches for 30 years. So we have 4 children. 3 of them are married, and we have a total of 7 grandchildren.
7.
And 1 on the way.
Awesome.
And we were just with my son, who's in the Navy in Washington State. They're expecting another one this spring, and so we went to see them. And my wife actually been grandbabysitting with them for a while. My daughter-in-law was in between a maternity leave, so Gwen went there to take care of the 18-month-old. Well, but now she is on her maternity leave now, so I have Gwen back with me.
Now she's got another baby to
She's
watch
got
after.
Yeah, this is the big baby to take care of. So, but that's been good.
Awesome. Well, so one of the things I like to do before we kind of jump into kind of your path, we're going to travel your path here in a second with your story. I like to kind of play this game a little bit. It's called This or That, and which one of these connect with you when it comes to that. So, can be yes or no, and I may ask something a little bit deeper when it comes to that. But are you this or that? Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl.
Night owl.
Always.
Yeah. So define night owl for you means you're going to bed typically at what time?
Generally, never hardly before 11.
Yeah.
I say if I read, studying, thinking about the next day, and I've got to get that off my mind before I can go to sleep.
Gotcha.
So that's just where I work.
Awesome. Are you a build something from scratch, or do you like to rebuild something that's broken?
My life in ministry mainly has been rebuilding. Not been from a scratch person. The churches that I served were established, but all of them were in need of a rebuild. Even here at the association, that's what it's doing is, helping churches to get back on mission, to rebuild those kind of things. So rebuilder more than a from scratch. Yeah.
All right, so this or that. You're going on vacation. You're going to the mountains or where we live. It's easier. We do this every day, but go to the beach.
We're going to the beach.
Go to the beach.
I live where I vacation.
There you go. That's right.
We bought a home in Pauly 6 years ago, and so we love it. It's actually Litchfield Beach there. And our kids come here to vacation. We stay here to vacation. We do go other places, but I tell folks I live for vacation. So we love it.
All right, so sweet tea or coffee?
Coffee.
Coffee.
I've got one in my hand right now.
So what do you put in your coffee?
Creamer only.
Creamer only. Do you have just like straight half and half, or do you like flavored creamer? Whatever.
Just straight. I just straight creamer. No, I don't like the flavor. I like the taste of coffee, and just want to cut just a little bit of creamer.
All right. Awesome. Are you a play it safe person or a take a leap of faith person?
I think a combination of both. I think in the ministry you have to do both of those things. As far as playing it safe, I do think through, pray through, want to make sure that the Lord is leading. But you've got to take some risk and some steps of faith and trust the Lord forward.
What's been some of those biggest steps of faith for you in your life, in personally and ministry wise?
I remember going back to my college days. I was planning to be a school teacher. Grew up on a farm in Eastern North Carolina. And if I grew up on a farm, that the summertime is the heavy time of work and whatever. And so I remember telling my dad, I said, Dad, I love you. I said, I don't plan on being a farmer. I want to do something else. He was good with that. He was my great grandfather, grandfather, my dad, all were farmers. And I said, no, I don't think I want to do that. So I went to school. When I was thinking about going to school about what I would do, I thought, what's a job where you have the summers off? And I thought, school teacher. That's what I'll do. So I went to the education department. Really, for that, I liked that schedule. I had, summertime for me had always been work. Let's get another schedule, work, school teacher. And I love teaching. Uh, but in my senior year of school, finishing my education program, went to Christian college and got a hold of my heart. Changed my plans. I said, you're going to be a teacher, preacher, but it's going to be in the pastoral ministry.
Different audience.
Different audience, different calling.
Yep.
And so my senior year, I switched, went back to school. Gwen and I met. We got married. I worked actually for the college that I served, that I was going to school for a couple of years. And then that first step was when I was finishing school. The next step was I had no job or anything out in front of me. Like, Lord, okay, you called me to be a pastor. Where do I go? And the Lord, by His grace, just had opened the door. A couple of churches that I actually tried out at the first time that I got out of school. They said, "No, you're too young, no experience.
Yeah.
You're not been a pastor, all those kind of things." And they turned me down. I'm like, okay. And then the first church was in Springfield, Missouri, and I had actually gone to school with a girl. Her father was the chairman of the pastor search team, and she called her dad and said, "Dad, I got a guy from school. He's looking for a church. Y'all looking for a pastor? Won't you give him a call?" And so he did. Called me, and so went there on a weekend, tried out, and a couple months later, Gwen and I moved, expecting our first child.
Wow.
And went to that first church in Springfield.
Wow. Awesome. Well, so you said you grew up in North Carolina.
Eastern North Carolina.
Eastern North Carolina. So a lot of times with people that that I'm interviewing and I'm asking the question, they're South Carolina, from South Carolina, and I ask the question, are you a Clemson Tiger or a Carolina Gamecock? Either of those resonate with you, or are you something else that's baby blue?
I'm a Tar Heel, not a Duke Blue Devil. I'm a Tar Heel Blue. So
yeah. All right.
So I don't have to get in that discussion
that's right.
about the Gamecocks or Clemson. I'm like, hey,
that's right. Yeah, you either dislike or like them both separately the same way. Yeah, that's for me as well. I'm an Auburn grad and grew up in Georgia, but I went to school in Auburn for landscape architecture actually, and so Clemson Tigers or Carolina Gamecocks to me is not that big of a deal. I just hope we meet both of them.
Yeah, that's right. I just tell people ask me about that. I said, well, let's not turn. I said we only play basketball in North Carolina. I said football's kind of a sidelight.
Yeah. It is like Auburn for me. Auburn, Alabama, huge rivalry. But Clemson and the Gamecocks, that's big around here. All right, so born in North Carolina, how you're typically I either talk to people who are born here or have been here for a little bit. You've been here for more than a little bit. So when we're going to begin here in just a second about your path to Conway, just kind of give us a picture. How long have you been in the area? So
20 years.
20
years this year.
Right. And so to you're becoming much more of a Conway native. The Conway natives, you're still one of the new guys.
Yeah, right.
When it comes to that. So what we do during this time is we're about to go on the path, and we're going to talk about purpose. We're going to talk more in depth about your arrival here into Conway. We're going to talk about how being here has transformed you and how you've seen this area transform.
Yeah.
And then we're going to just kind of jump into some heart stuff. Kind of what makes you laugh, what makes you cry, what makes you excited, that kind of stuff. So let's go ahead and take that first step on the path, and let's talk about purpose. And so for you, one of the questions I always ask is this: what are you most passionate about or committed to, specifically in this season of your life right now?
In this season of my life, it's what I'm doing. Our churches in this area, in Church and Home, as for 30 years I was kind of individually focused on the particular church that I was serving. And that keeps you busy kind of in that lane. You think, you partner with other churches and other things, but you're focused right here. what I'm passionate about now, what I see now is all of the churches and the whole area, not just in our tribe, but in every
Right.
tribe. And where we are strategically as far as the population that is here, that's moving here, the mission field that's in front of us, and my passion to see every church, gospel preaching church, strong, reaching out, uh, planting new churches for those folks that are coming. We got new neighborhoods popping up everywhere. So that's my passion is this area. I love. I've been coming here. I live here. Planted here. Plan to retire and die here in this area. Right here. So that's what I love.
So this has become home.
This is home. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is home. And it's interesting. My children, I pastored in North Carolina, in Missouri, and Florida, and here. And my children were born scattered around wherever we were. All of them consider this home.
Oh, really?
This is home.
Wow.
I've got one daughter who actually lives here in Conway.
Yeah.
The other three are scattered, but they still consider that this is home.
This is home.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's step out of the big picture of the calling God has on your life. But for you personally, because one of the things I always wrestled with when I was first starting ministry was, am I relying on being in the ministry to be a good Christian?
Yeah.
Or would I be a good Christian even if I wasn't in the ministry? So if you weren't in ministry, what's that driver for you? Some people have a mission or purpose statement for their life or anything like that just when you wake up, this is your driver for you personally.
For me, it's been to fulfill God's calling on my life, and I think the calling for all of us as believers is to be, passionately in love with Jesus, and to grow in our relationship with Him. And then the calling that we have on this earth is to be a Great Commission believer, and that is to share the gospel with others and to make disciples who reach those to the ends of the earth.
Right.
And whether I was pastoring or whether now Association Mission Strategist, or member of a church, missions has really been the passion of my life. When I first got married, before we went to our first church to serve, we went on a mission trip together, and it was about 3 months. We were in West Africa, and I was struggling at that point of whether God was calling me to be a missionary to go overseas, and came to the point where God was calling me. Said, "No, you're not going to be a missionary overseas, but you're going to be a missionary pastor, be a missionary here, have a missionary family, and to be someone who spends your life in missions." And that's what I have. The churches that I serve in, all of my children have been on mission trips, multiple mission trips. I've got a daughter, my youngest daughter, served with the International Mission Board, and just got back to the mission field this past year.
Yeah.
And she's looking
got a chance to hear her story at our last association.
And it's Abigail. And all of my children have taken that mantle of missions upon their heart. In the churches where I serve, that was one of the things that drove me as a pastor, is that how can we be a Great Commission church, and how can we be an Acts 1:8 church? We reach our community. It's not about just going over there always, but how can we reach our community? How can we see churches planted here and abroad? And so everything in our church was geared around getting people on mission here locally and also sending people. And my transition to here as the Association Mission Strategist is just a broadening of that. That started with a individual mission trip for me, went to being a pastor leading others on mission trips around the world, and locally, to now leading a association of churches on the very same mission. So that's been the driving passion of my life, and will continue to be after this particular season of my life.
Paid for it
whether they get paid for it or not makes no difference.
Right. And that's it's got to be fulfilling and heartwarming to see your kids step into that similar passion that way. When Abigail was sharing and stuff, it was just powerful to see her heart, hear the story of how God's used her, and all of that. So a lot of times, we're going to get into this when we talk about transformation, but a lot of times I ask people about how did your purpose connect with Conway and that kind of stuff. And I think you've already said about the growth and the things that are coming here. So we're going to get into that when we talk about transformation. But I want to be the person that's watching this, and maybe the question's forming in my mind. Jeff, that's all fine and good for you. You understand your purpose. I don't have a purpose in my life. How do I go about discovering my purpose in my life? You got any words of wisdom as it would relate to that?
I don't think it's a discovering it as I think is you walk with the Lord and the Lord will show you. It's not, I've got to find this, what's my purpose or whatever. What I have found is my purpose in life is that to be obedient to Him is that's the first laying on the table. I surrender all.
Right.
Lord, I give you my life. Wherever you lead, however it is, wherever it is, I'm willing to go. And when you walk in that obedience, what you'll find is that you look back and you go, I fulfilled it. That's been God's purpose for my life. And all the difficulties and the good times and whatever, all of them have been weaving toward that purpose of being who He wants us to be. And that is to be passionately in love with Him and then passionately in love with sharing His good news that He shared with us.
Right.
That we share that with others and see them come to Him. So
Yeah, I hope you heard where Jeff was tracking there, because it's not about purpose is not about so much what you do.
yeah,
Purpose comes from who you intimately know and who intimately knows you,
yeah,
and that's the Lord. And so it's not a surrendering to serve, it's a surrendering to someone. It's a surrender to the Lord. And let's be honest, that word surrender, I was talking with one of our buddies on a previous podcast. That's not a word people uh, they don't like to participate in when it comes to that. But when you think of, because we can get in church, be in church for so long, we can use terms that we understand that maybe some other people don't. When you say surrender to the Lord and follow Him, practically on a daily basis, what does that look like? I'm listening to this, and I haven't grown up in church.
yeah.
I don't. What do you mean walk with the Lord? I don't see Him. Where's His hand? How do I do that? How do you answer that?
Well, it begins with first of all, is that it's starting having a relationship with Christ at the very beginning, and to realize that does not come about by what I do or who I am, by who He is. That He has done all that is necessary for me to be in relationship with the Holy God.
Right.
I'm a broken vessel, and He has made it possible for me as a sinner to be in relationship with Him by Jesus' death on the cross of Calvary. And so that relationship of following Him, just like in a marriage relationship, with your wife, you love her. How do you love her? You talk to her. You spend time with her. It's the same thing with the Lord. And out of that comes, uh, you know, when you love someone, you want to serve. You want to do things for them. I was we just got back from our trip from Washington, and she said something to me. She said, I was mentioning something about. I said we were talking about the air in our house. I said I'd turn it down low, when I leave the house.
Right.
And we have a thing on my phone where I can change it. And I said I would do that, and then when I got back home, the air would be turned up and it would be warm. And she said, well, she's in Washington. I'm here. She has it on her phone too. She said, I would track you and know that when you were coming home, I would turn the air up so that when you walked in the door,
Wow.
the house was already warm. And I'm like, now that explains it. And she's like, and she said, that was just my way to serve you. And I'm like, thank you, honey. I'm thinking, I know it's a little thing, but it was, out of that relationship comes, I'm looking for you. I'm looking after you. I love you. I care. What can I do for you?
Yeah, that's a great definition of the word surrender.
Yeah,
Really.
it is. It is.
I love you, and I'm gonna do what's best.
I'm gonna do what's best
for you. It's not about me.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, so we talked there about purpose and what drives you, or who drives you, basically, with your relationship with Jesus. So let's talk about arrival. You said you've been in the area for 20 years. What brought you to Conway?
20 years I was serving a church in South Florida in West Palm Beach, and had been there for almost 4 years. And my family, I had my mom and dad were living then, and they live in North Carolina. Gwen's parents her father passed away, but mother still lived in all the years. And part of that was to move back closer to family.
Right.
And we began looking in this area, found out there was a church here that was available. I sent my resume to them. It was at North Conway. One thing was interesting is they had been searching for a pastor for a while, and I talked to one of the ladies on the pastor search team. Mine was the last resume they got, and I remember talking to her, and when she got that, she said, "This is the one." Just and I had another lady on the pastor search team when they came to Florida. They took a picture and of the team before they left. And several years ago, she gave me that picture of the
Oh, wow.
morning they left from Conway to go to Florida to
Yeah.
visit with us there. And she wrote on the back of it, "On our mission trip to Florida to meet our next pastor."
Wow.
And when I read that, I was like, "On our mission trip." It wasn't we're coming to search for a pastor to find a pastor, but we're on a mission trip. And I appreciate her heart and her sentiment for that. And so, anyway, the Lord connected us. And 20 years ago, I moved my family here to Conway. Began the ministry of North Conway. There for 16 years.
16 years. So give us some highlights of those 16 years.
Oh, well, the multitude of those. Uh, Got there, the church had had a interim pastor for a couple of years before I got there, and unfortunately, their story had been where they had had a lot of ups and downs, mostly downs, and they had had some difficulty a couple of years before I got there with various issues, and so wasn't a it was a church that needed some guidance and direction moving forward. And one of the things that, of course, I go back to my passion of missions, and that's my calling. And I said, when I came to the and first couple of messages I even preached there, I said, "Listen, God's calling me a missions pastor," and so that's how I will. That's what you will hear from me. That about missions, and so how it started is that my daughter and myself went on a mission trip to Nepal the first year that we got here. Come to find out, one of the first pastors in the history of that church, over at that point, is over 50 years old, who'd taken a mission trip,
Hmm.
which was kind of unusual for me.
Wow.
But I was like, if I'm going to ask people to go, then I'm going to
You're
go.
going to do it.
And so we got back, reported about had a great trip, saw people saved, and so I began to encourage our members to go on mission. And at that time, we didn't have any mission mechanism or teams or whatever in the church. And so there were other churches that were going. So we got the members of our church to connect with other churches and to go on mission with them. I did the same thing.
Right.
We didn't have the means or the leaders to be able to do our own mission trips. So we went with other churches, and that group began to continue. We had so many people going that we formed a team. We needed some finances and things for it. We got that in the budget. We developed what was called the Acts 1-8 strategy, that we were going to send people on mission locally, nationally, and internationally. And that we as a church were going to invest in every member who went on mission to be able to assist with that. And it just grew from there.
Wow.
I think when I left, we had members to go to about 20 different countries on mission trips, been in multiple states. We developed one of the largest disaster relief teams in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that when we first came here, and in the conversation with you in the first association meeting I went to, was disaster relief and how that's basically a heartbeat of the whole association now, and that it seems like God has brought people here that connects with, and they do an incredible job. I know there's people with are they still in North Carolina working?
Yes, they are.
Still go up there with all the hurricane stuff that went there.
Doing rebuild in North Carolina. That's a group mainly from, well, it's 3 or 4 different churches that are here partnered together, but mainly out of North Carolina.
Yeah. So you got here, you had somewhat of a local, more local connection than you grew up in Arizona and moved here or something like that. But how long did it take for? We talked about this. Conway feels like home now. How long did it take for that to go? This is home. This is where. It's like you said. This is where I'm going to be planted. This is where I'm going to serve. This is where I'm going to live. This is where I'm going to die.
Yeah. I can't pinpoint. I mean, it took years of being here, and part of that is when you invest as a pastor in marrying folks and marrying folks and enter into their a life, whatever. You build a life together, and they become your family. And they're when I came to North Conway, probably 20 years ago, I would say probably 80% of the church at that time, maybe even more, were from here. They were Conway folks. I mean, they're the ones who have their names were in the graveyards, and whatever. But about 16 years, probably about halfway through, 8 to 10 years in, that began to be more 60-40 to 50-50.
Wow.
And more people that were coming that were in Pennsylvania, Maryland, all kinds of things, which is what the area is. And then we began to kind of, the church transition to wasn't mainly just folks from Conway. Still mainly, but it was having a high group of people from outside. And so I always thought they navigated well. I thought they were welcoming, and saw one another, brothers and sisters, Lord. I didn't see that tension of us, them, that kind of thing.
Huh. Has there been a person that you go, this person kind of really made me connected into Conway? Has there been anybody or a couple of folks that you would just go, they got their claws in me, it feels like it, or have been that kind of encouragement to you to?
Well, at North Conway, one of the guys I think of who's from here, lived here, family here, his name's Rocky Revis. Rocky was on the pastor search team, and he worked for a company. He does timber work. He goes out and surveys timber and that kind of stuff. And I think he's retired now. But Rocky just knew this area, knew folks here, loved me as a pastor, always supported me, and I could get insights from him about families and connections and things like that. Also, music. Person who led our music ministry was Miss Abby Santa, and Miss Abby's from here. She Miss Conway. I mean, literally Miss Conway at high school, at Conway High School, and knows a lot of people here, connections and families. So, I was able to build a big database of who's related to who, what family connections here, all those kind of things, and so it was very helpful to me, knowing how to minister to folks and how things are done here. How things relate. And it's very relational. Smaller community. Of course, the town of Conway is somewhat changing now, but it's still based upon relationships. Who you know, how you get jobs, how you work, how those kind of things. Just who you know. Right. And so you've got to build relationships. You got to get to know people and to love them and to walk with them, and that just takes time.
Yep.
So
awesome. So I'm gonna ask two more questions about this arrival. One of them is just probably has nothing to do with arrival. I want to get your there's got to be a story somewhere. Yeah. So you said lots of marrying and lots of burying of people. That's part of what a pastor does. There's got to be some funny story or something that happened and I know it's weird when you say something funny happened at a funeral or something crazy at a wedding. Anything at the ones that you have, and the term is officiated, right? You're married, you're right. So has there been any funny scenario, anything happen that way that you're like, that's a first?
Well, there have been, didn't necessarily happen here in Conway, but as far as one of the first baptisms I remember was she was about 9 or 10 years old. And I was not done very much. And we wore robes. And so she's standing here about this tall from me, wearing a robe. And I'm getting ready to baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. And what happened is that robe kind of ballooned out from her and filled up like a balloon, that robe. And so I get ready to baptize her. She's like a cork. I can't go down with her. So I'm going like this. All this is going on in my head while I'm holding her. If I don't get her under the water, she's not baptized, but she doesn't want to go in. So I just took her and I just went, baptize you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Whoosh! And I just pushed her down and came out. And she came out of the water. She went, like that. Of course, everybody gasped. But she got baptized.
That's right.
So I learned from Bill. I told everybody when they'd walk in with that robe on, I said, pat the air bubbles out.
Pat the air bubbles out. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always in those moments like that. It's when the unexpected
It
happens.
is.
It's
And
like,
when you
whoa,
you
absolutely.
learn all of those
Yes,
things, experiences you learn from how to do it.
absolutely. Baptism can definitely be one of those. So, last question about arrival. Somebody picks up the phone that you know and says, Jeff, hey, we're looking, thinking we're going to move. Why would you tell them to move to Conway?
I tell them with Conway, number one, it's a great place to live. I tell folks that, and we lived here for 16 years. And I live, at the beach. I said, but in this area, I said you can live here and enjoy all of the things that we have here in the county, the beaches and whatever, but you don't necessarily have to live at the beach.
Right.
We live at Pawleys, which is kind of the south end, whatever. Uh, but it's a good place to raise your family. They're just good folks that are here, good school system. Uh, again, it's close enough to different things around here. It's growing, everywhere.
Right.
So,
All right. So we'll talk about purpose, talk about arrival. Let's talk about transformation. And you just said there's people moving here, and that's not that's probably even understated. Just people are moving here. How in 6 or 20 years now being in the area, what have been some of the biggest changes and transformations you've seen happen here in Conway and the surrounding areas?
uh, it has been growth. When I came in 2006, the population of the county was 260,000. Today it's right at 400,000. Projected to go probably within a decade to 500,000. That's been the biggest change. I mean, we are consistently year after year one of the fastest growing areas. Uh, that rate's changed. I mean, everywhere that I go in the county, down these little county roads or whatever, you see a little farm that's being turned into a new
Yeah,
subdivision. People moving
absolutely.
here. And we see that. And, people can decry, they don't want to change or whatever, but uh, it's inevitable. It's happened. We live at a place where people want to go to. They want to move here. Um, and that presents a challenge for us as a a church to reach them, also to be inclusive and to the early church had to deal with the Jews and the Gentiles. We have to deal with Northerners and Southerners.
Yeah,
Nothing's changed.
that's right.
You have to deal with different cultures, different backgrounds, how we do things, different all those differences. But the thing that brings us together is the gospel.
Yeah.
And we live in a mission, and it's becoming uh, more and more. I mean, that's what it's continuing to do. So,
Well, and I know being such a mission-minded person for you, um, this is one of those places you can live and basically reach the world almost because of who is moving here, like you said. And it's not just, I mean, there's a lot of people from other parts of our country that are moving here, but you even got people outside of our country that are moving here. Um, who knew that, you know, you could have such a mission impact in compared to other cities, Conway, small town. Who knew you could have that kind of impact in a small town from a mission standpoint of reaching so many different people? What do you see as so you got your association leader hat on now? What are the challenges based on reaching people that are coming in from other parts that come in, like you said, with other backgrounds, other cultures, that kind of stuff? What are some of those challenges that you think local churches in 80 specifically in our association? What are some of those big challenges you think those churches are going to face or
and
are facing?
well, it's so lift up your eyes and to see the harvest that's around us. It is the fields are ripe with the harvest, and that it's so easy to when you're a smaller community church and all the families are the same. You got the graveyard outside the church, whatever. Churches could sustain themselves and keep going simply by biological growth. In other words, if young families, kids grow up in the church, they get married, have kids, they still live there, their kids come to the church. People die, a few babies are coming in. You can
Right.
continue that. Uh, with churches now is that young people move away, so they're not having the babies there. That population gets older, and so they're not that sustainable biological growth. But people all around are new people you've got to reach. And the challenge is for those churches to be able to see where they are. That if they, many of them, if they continue on the path in which they're going, is that they cannot sustain themselves.
So a lot of churches, not just here, I would say churches in America, a lot of churches think we've opened our doors and now we've done our job,
Yeah.
right? We've opened the door so if people are welcome to come in. So for that Christian man or woman that is sitting in a church service going, we're welcoming, but nobody's coming. What challenge or advice would you give them?
Well, you've got to give an invitation. You've got to, if I'm going to have someone over to my home, I can't just say, listen, well, I have neighbors around me and whatever. I'd love to be able to make connections with my neighbors. My home is open. Why don't they come? Well, they're not going to come in my house. They're strangers.
Right.
They consider me a stranger, and they would consider it rude to go and knock on the door. So,
Hey, we're coming over.
hey, we're coming over.
Yeah.
Okay, come on in. Bring a casserole when you come.
That's
You've
right.
got to build relationships outside of the community where there's invitation, where you're meeting your neighbors actively. You're walking, seeing new people coming in your neighborhood. My wife would, she still does, she would make a pie, whatever. We had new neighbors, and she just go across the street, hand it to them, say, listen, hey, we're your new neighbor. I'm gonna get to know you, and then begin to, the relationship with that. When I lived at Keeley Estates, outside of Conway, lived there for 14 years, is that I've met most of my neighbors out there by walking around, seeing them, walking the dog. I would send a personal invitation to my neighbors because many of them knew I was a pastor,
Right.
so they know I'm going to
Right.
talk about religious things. So, but I would give a handwritten personal invitation to Easter, to Christmas, to different things, and would hand deliver it to people in our neighborhood and invite them to church and say, listen, for me, a neighbor. And we had folks who would come, so they'd see me. I wasn't a threat to them. I had
Right.
personally sent them an invitation and say, hey, come. And that's what you have to do so that when they come, it's not a awkward come in. I don't know
Right.
anybody. I don't know what you're doing, whatever. They know me. They can see me. Hey, I invited you. Now
Right.
I've welcomed them into my house, the church, where I can show them around, take that uncomfortability away so that they can, hey, and help them. And then so that they can take that nervousness away so now they can hear the message and get comfortable with it. Maybe you want to come back.
Yeah. Well, and I think so. Here's what I filtered through all of that, which is all great stuff. Is it's really the difference between two words, two prepositions, the word to and the word with. We want people to come to what we're doing. What we need to ask them is this: was will you come with me? And people go. Stats will tell you people go to church not because the facilities are awesome, the preacher preaches great, and the music is awesome. They go because they went with somebody. They're there because they know Bill and Sally. They're there because Bill and Sally said, come to church with us. We'll go grab lunch after and doing that kind of stuff. So we've got to get out of the come to mentality, and we've got to be focused more on the come with mentality. Because how do I know that works? Because that works with me, right? Somebody says, "Hey, come to dinner with us."
Yeah.
Come with us. Not, hey, not me trying to figure out when they're going to go to dinner, and I try to meet them there, right? How
Exactly.
crazy is that?
Yeah, and that's how we've met our neighbors, and where we live now, the church that we're going to go to now, hey, invite people.
Yeah. It all boils down to, you know what? It's not just a church thing, because you said it's really earlier you said it's all about relationships. I mean, that translates to family, business, school, sports teams, whatever. It's about those relationships with other people. That's where life, I think, real life happens, and that's where I say this a lot. You got to be in someone's life to speak into someone's life. I think the church, um, if we're not in their life, we're just preaching at them, right?
And if you have someone who is in your relationships, if you're talking with people, you never mention church or church is my life. That's where I go. It's where I have relationships and things. So in your conversations, that should be coming out. Just as, was doing this at church or saw this or went there. So as you're talking about those things and say, hey, with some folks who may not be going to church, if you've been talking about the Lord, you've been talking about biblical issues, been talking about your church and whatever in your everyday conversations with people that that don't go to church, when you say to them or something comes up, say, hey, Easter's coming, Christmas coming, we'd love to be able to have you. It's not going to be awkward.
Right.
They're not going to, they can say yes or no, but it's not going to be awkward because your invitation has come out of a relationship.
Yep.
They've already heard you talk about your church. Hey, listen, we got some great music. Love to come hear our pastor. We've got some good Bible studies. Love for you to come. Hey, I might do that.
Right.
But it's come out of they've seen that from you and built that trust factor with you.
Yeah.
It's not, and when you do that, it's not awkward. It's not like go to someone straight, don't know who they are. Hey, I want you to go to church with me.
Right.
I don't know you. Where are you from? What kind of church are you talking about?
Yeah, that's not that God can't use that, but that's typically
Yes.
Look in Scripture, you don't see that very often.
You're right. Yes.
So, all right, so we're going to transition now from going with our purpose, arrival, and transformation in the community. We're going to talk about heart. So, first of all, I want you to think about community of Conway in general. How would you describe the heart of Conway is? How would you fill in the blank?
I would think, in my opinion, the heart of Conway is, I think, searching still. What I've seen with Conway is that we've had all of the, Myrtle Beach is kind of the dominant area as far as a vacation spot where all people come. I think statistics are from, Memorial Weekend to Labor Day weekend, like 14 to 17 million people become vacationers. That's different now because
they all drive on 501.
And they'll follow 501. It's different now because it used to be kind of the seasonal here, where now it's year long. Whereas Conway, in many ways, is now becoming it is the county seat, but it's becoming more of a central place for the county with some of the events that they are doing with Christmas and with the different kind of events that the city is doing now. It's become a place that people are talking about more than Myrtle Beach. I mean, not more, but it's become known. Hey, Conway, that kind of nice little river town that's
right.
doing things, whatever. So, people want to go there. And there's, entertainment and things that go with that, and we can make a discussion on that. But people are, I think, wanting to have that small town feel and relationship, and trying to build that. I think I have a nostalgia for that small town feel, but with activities of building relationships with people or whatever. And people are searching for that. And so out of that searching for that relationship and a sense of community, where do you find that? That's a longing that we have. Where do you find that ultimately that feels? That's found in the community of God, being in a relationship with Him, and found in a place that called the church, where you can build those ultimate relationships. We didn't have community in a sense of the whole community, everybody, but ultimately that's going to help with those heart issues, and those deep things are going to be that family place.
Yeah.
And we have so many. We used to have. Used to be where you had blood family around, but and where you could get all of those relationships and things and that community connection. Even if you didn't have a church, you had a blood family. But so many people have moved here, they don't necessarily have those blood relationships, but they still need a family.
Right.
Well, where they can find a place called the church.
Yep. And you think it's interesting you use the word searching, kind of heart of Conway, because I do think I agree with you 100% on the value and the importance of finding that community in a local church and with people who believe in Jesus as their Lord and Savior and having that sense of community. But I think even in a more non-church look at our community, searching I think also still fits there because I want to flip that. What the heart of Conway is this may be the place you've actually been searching for.
Yeah.
And it for me, I mean, I haven't been here 20 years. I've been here going on our second year living here. And what I have found is it is a place that I can find a sense of overall community. And I have found that with my church community as well. But I'm just, man, I asked you earlier why I moved to Conway, because the answer of what you said of searching, because this may be the exact place you've been searching for, to be able to call home, to find home here in that. How do you think Conway, the overall community of Conway, how has that molded you, changed you, impacted, influenced you in your life? Versus maybe some other place you've been.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
When I was in West Palm was, and that probably was to me, probably a good training place to be there for 3 years moving here. West Palm Beach, multicultural church that I served, we had 4 different congregations meeting in our facilities. We had a Cuban, a Haitian, an African American in the church that I served, which had 20-30% of them from another nation. We had like 10 different nationalities in the church.
Wow.
So eclectic, but that's South Florida. I mean, South Florida people come from everywhere, but there was a great blending together. Everybody, with different cultures and different things. But we were our unifying factor was that we were in the church. Here in Conway, it's the same thing. We are, it's moving toward people coming, not quite as eclectic as say South Florida is, but moving in that direction, multicultural, which can be a challenge for a lot of people to, accept whatever. But there's in that diversity, you see, other people, other cultures, other way people, see and do things. That's good. So it was helpful to me as I've seen that transition and that change in Conway of people coming here from different places. I've experienced that, seen that, and can see the, it didn't frustrate me as far as that's different. I went like, have a new restaurant, different way to, so it's good.
All right, so we stepped down this path together. So some of my thoughts, my takeaways. For you, the heartbeat of who Dr. Jeff Gaskins is your relationship with Jesus, first and foremost. You're not a guy who's in ministry. You're a Christian that God's placed you way to serve where you're at. But what you do is not defined who you are. That's who you know. And that I appreciate that about you as our leader here in the association. I also have heard your heart for mission, which is really hard for others to experience that personal relationship with Jesus. And then to see how the journey God has taken you on has prepared you for each place you've been. Now, a lot of times, let's be honest, we see God's plan in hindsight sometimes way more clearly than we do in our foresight. And you see why God placed you here for this time to meet these people, for this reason, to learn this stuff, and that. And then I like, I asked you the question first: are you you want to plan it, or do you want to just go after it? You want that kind of stuff. And I like the fact that you're like, well, you retired for 2 months, and then because God's brought you in the association, that you haven't stepped on the sidelines, but you're still allowing God to kind of bring you out, if you will, into the lives of others that are making a difference in the community, continue to make a difference in the community that way. I admire that about. That's what I've heard over our past conversation here, and I've seen that lived out in his life in real practical
And
ways.
interesting, we've come to today because we talk about transition and calling and mission in life. Uh, I've come to one of those next phases as far as my life is concerned. I have just recently given my second retirement announcement to
Mm-hmm.
our admin team for the association. So later this year, I'll be stepping down from the role as the Association Mission Strategist for the Waccamaw Baptist Association. And so people have asked me, so, well, what are you going to do next? And I'm like, what I've been doing.
Right.
I'll have maybe a little more flexibility on time as far as that goes and constraints, but I'll do what I did before I was a pastor, while I was a pastor, while I was an AMS, and whatever. That will continue the heart of missions, how I can serve. I might be able. I'm a member at Pawleys Island Community Church. That's where we live. My membership moved there when I came out of Conway, North Conway, and I told Pastor Don, I said, I might be a better church member. I said, I actually serve on the mission team of our church because it's one way I can serve in the church.
Right.
Because I'm generally not there on Sundays because I'm generally out preaching in different places or whatever. So that may be the next phase. I know he has a heart for missions and wants to do some things, so I'm committed there. So I don't know what exactly it will be. It will be in the realm of missions, some direction, somehow. Just won't have the time.
Here's what I know. It will absolutely be centered on your relationship with Jesus. And so,
and I might play golf every now and then.
Wow. There's
but
actually time
anyway.
for that. All right, so we're gonna close with something called the Wheel of Real. And so what we're gonna do is, in just a second, I'm gonna bring the Wheel of Real over here, and I'm gonna get you to spin it. There's 24 different or potential questions to answer. And you don't know what they're going to be yet, so we'll just do that off the cuff. After we do the Wheel of Real, I'll give you the opportunity to close out, say anything, share anything that you want to about you, about the association, about whatever you want to there, and then I'll close this out. So I'm going to bring the Wheel of Real over.
Here we go.
And I'm going to give
this I did not know about. Anyway.
So I'm going to give you a chance to spin that. What number do we have?
Number 10.
Number 10.
Out of 10.
Hardest one on there. No, I don't know. Here we go. All right. Here it is. If you could relive one day just to feel it again, which day would you pick?
One day. Well, there's quite a few of those. First, obviously, I could say my wedding day. I mean, that would be obvious when if you're listening to this.
Let me narrow it down.
No.
How about in your childhood, when you think back to your childhood?
That one I can narrow down. That one I can think about. It's going to sound silly, but it's just when I was about 7 or 8 years old. Christmas came and something that I wanted, my parents got for me, and it was a big army set. We come from Marx Brothers, had tanks and guns and all this kind of stuff, whatever. And I wanted that for Christmas, and they knew that I did. And my parents got it. But right at Christmas, I got the measles. And so it was chickenpox. I got chickenpox. And so I'm contagious and can't get around anybody. And so I had to take my Christmas present, whatever, had to be put in a separate room. And I had cousins and things. We lived on a family farm, had cousins and brothers and sisters and whatever. And they couldn't be with me.
Wow.
And I had to just kind of be by myself. And I'm like, I don't have to share my Christmas present with anybody else. I'm by myself. I'm in quarantine, and I love it. But I don't know why that, but why it was just a special time. But it was a combination of I had it all to myself.
Right.
I didn't have to share it, it was, what I wanted, and it was it was a good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And why that, and that feeling of, and I think it was, I had parents who loved me. They wanted to please me and to get something that, that I truly wanted. So anyway, all that combination of that.
Awesome.
It was a good Christmas.
So next Christmas, we'll get chicken pox or some Army men.
That kind of strange combination, but I'm
You never
strange
know.
dude. You never know. But anyway, it's a good memory.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to live in chicken pox over
there. You go. All right, so the floor is yours. If you want to kind of close out before I say a last couple of words, something for you personally, professionally, anything that you want to share with folks to let them know anything's going on.
Listen, I appreciate Jay at his heart and what he is doing at Pathway, and the heart and the love that he is growing and developing for this community. And I recommend his church family, the passion and plan that he has there. Praying for him and their success and as God leads them to be able to reach people. So if you're looking for a good church, I can recommend one, and recommend Pathway, Pastor Jay and their folks. I've been with them and seen their journey, and that's one of the joys that I have in this role, is been able to come along beside guys like Jay and other new church planters that we have, and be able to resource them, help them, give them finances and different things, to be able to see how God is using them, and wanting to see that grow and to multiply. And I know that Jay has that on his heart, not just simply Pathway, but beyond there as to what God can be able to do. Absolutely. And that would be my encouragement to anyone who's listening to this, is that first of all, the greatest purpose and plan for your life has already been planned out. And that's when Jesus Christ came, the Son of God, down on the cross of our sins, paid the debt that we could not pay, and paid that debt for us by his death on the cross, rose again as a validation of the payment of that debt, and that everything's been prepared, everything's been made. I don't have to work for it, earn it, try to get it myself. I have a Heavenly Father who's seeking me, and he sought me through his Son. And he loves me, and he loves you. And you can find that ultimate purpose in life by knowing Jesus Christ as your Savior, trusting him, building a relationship with him. And then having a family of faith that he places us in, called the church family, where we can serve and to be able to share what God has done with us with others, and to serve within that community of faith, to make our communities better, our families better, stronger together. And so that's what I encourage you. If you don't know Christ, I encourage you to learn more about it, find out about it. Go to a place, if you've got questions about that, Pathway is a good place to go. Pastor Jay, we're glad to sit down with you. No intimidation. Answer any question. There's no dumb questions. Hey, what about this? What does the Bible say about this? And see if those questions that you are asking, there's some answers, and that can truly reach the questions that you have.
Yeah. Jeff,
appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Right.
I hope you something that stuck with me from what he said when I asked about the heart of Conway, to use that word searching. That's something everybody has in common. We're all searching for something, and we find that something when we find that someone. And so I appreciate your willingness to be here today, and we're going to be praying for you in the next steps that God has for you. And as he mentioned, if you want to connect in any way, and just you have some questions and things that you're searching for, again, my name is Jay Thompson. I'd love to sit down and talk with you, folks at our church, at Pathway Church. We just want to partner and connect with you and help you in your journey. So I have a little tagline that I use when we sign off, and I always say this: until next time, keep taking the next step on your path.
All right.
Great job. Enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
I always learn a lot just having conversations and stuff like that. So.
It is good.